What's up, guys? It's your boys Wolkie back at it with some more of the Chris Watts videos. Now, a lot of you guys have been sending me so much videos, which thank you so very much. Please bear with me as it takes a little time for me to read everybody. There's people that I don't want you to feel upset. I'm reading them. It's just a little overwhelming for myself. I'm just not used to reading all these, but I want to reach everybody. So I thank you guys so very much for the love and support you guys have been showing. 1 on YouTube, 2 on Instagram and Facebook. I love you guys all so much. I can't wait to see what the future holds. We just hit 40,000 subscribers. We're on our way to 50, so I can give one of you guys one of your Meta Quest 3 virtual reality headsets. And the way to do so is by subscribing, by hitting the white icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted a video. Then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I thank you guys so very much. I'm so blessed to have all you guys. And again, I can't wait to see what the future holds. This year, 2024, will be our year that we get to 100K. I have a feeling, and it's all because of you guys. Again, I thank you guys. But that being said, we're going to get into this video. A lot of you guys have sent me this video of the Watts family murders of exposed, of 3 things that we definitely want to talk about. That one could be unknown things that we maybe need to look into, and probably weird to talk about, which I'm hoping it's not too weird. But again, the big discrepancy is in the air of Chris and how there's people that don't care. There's people that do care. I am one of those people that kind of do care, just because the way I want to say this is I didn't want Shenan to suffer. I don't feel like she should have ever been in this predicament where she should have been murdered, because it was Chris's fault. It was Chris that wanted a different life, and he took Shenan out, Bella, Cece, and Nico for no reason. There is no justification in this murder. There is no justification in pretty much any murder unless it's what's it called? Self-defense. But even then, you have to justify that. But again, there is no justification for what Chris did to Shenan. Again, I still believe this wholeheartedly, that Nicolekessinger was involved in these murders with the girls, because she just acted so weird in those interviews. Those girls, they were so small, so tiny, and she was pregnant. Like, it was completely like BS kind of acting, as you will. So with that being said, we're going to be watching this YouTube channel called We Need Ice. New channel, never seen it before. But we're going to take a look at it, because I would definitely like to see some new channels that show their twist and their ideas on different cases and crime videos that I've seen on other crimes, which we'll be introducing new crimes again as well. But a lot of you guys like the continuation and the justification when it comes to the Chris Watts murders, because we don't have 100% justice. We want Shenan to be, and Shenan, Bella, Cece, and baby Nico to get that 100% justice, and that is NK in cuffs. So that being said, grab a chair, get comfortable, and let's take a look at this video. Make sure you guys go over their channel, give them some love. They're at 702. We'd like to get them to 1,000. Why not? So again, let's get into the video.
Father and loving husband before the events that unfolded on August 13th, 2018.
The big question is the 111-minute phone call that still can't be recalled by either one of them. Pretty much how she was murdered. We know that there was no chemicals, no chloroform, no blunt force trauma, so she wasn't hit, thank the Lord. But she was smothered, obviously. Big impressions on her right, I think it was right side. So it leaves me to believe that he had one hand where her other hands might have been above her head. So seductively, I think he was trying to do something with her to make her guard down. And that's when he committed the murder. I think that she didn't see it coming. He says it was by accident, which is completely BS, or it was a fit of rage. Why would he have rage when he's the one? It's not like he or she did anything wrong to Chris. She wanted to fix her marriage with Chris. He didn't want it. He wanted Nicole. So let's continue.
In Frederick, Colorado, where the lives of Shenan Watts, Her two daughters, Bella and Celeste, often referred to as Cece, and her unborn son to be called Nico, were tragically cut short. I understand many of you watching this video may be all too familiar with the details surrounding the Watts family murders, but I'd like to provide a brief summary of the case before we get into the 3 wildly weird and possibly unknown things, which will leave you reanalyzing this whole case in a new way.
Interesting.
So stay tuned, and while we're reviewing the Watts tragedy and uncovering some interesting angles, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, and initiate the notification bell. In August 2018, Shenan Watts, 15 weeks pregnant, and her daughters were reported missing by a friend after she failed to respond to messages and attend a doctor's appointment. Nicole Atkinson became increasingly concerned over her friend and colleague's unusual...
And there's some people, not to keep pausing, but you guys don't want me to talk during the video, actually have the audacity to sit there and blame Nicole Atkinson for possible involvement. I've looked at their ideas and it's completely hogwash. Like, I don't get it whatsoever. So I don't believe for a lick of a moment that Nicole Atkinson was involved. Nicolekessinger was, but not Nicole Atkinson. So let's continue.
Absence of responsive communication. After phone calls to Shenan's husband Chris left Nicole even more ill at ease, she took it upon herself to drive to the Watts home with her teenage son and attempt to make contact. Nicole's instincts were telling her something was not right. Chris was offering up some very strange and new information regarding the state of his and Shenan's marriage. Separation? Divorce? Shenan had never spoke of divorce. They were welcoming their 3rd child soon. Selling the house? No. Shenan would have said something. She leaned hard on the support of her friends and was extremely open when it came to her personal life. Even if she was jumping the gun, Nicole figured it's better to be safe than sorry. She hoped she would ring the bell of the Watts home and be greeted by a groggy Shenan, probably embarrassed to have sent her friend into such a tizzy. At the most, she thought, Shenan might have fainted or fallen. After all, Shenan was well into a difficult and high-risk pregnancy and had some ongoing health issues, albeit not life-threatening. But upon her arrival and attempt to make personal contact at the Watts home, Atkinson was not relieved at all. Her repeated door knocking and ringing of the doorbell went unanswered. She peered through the glass front door of what looked to be an oddly quiet and empty home for a mom with 2 little ones. The family's only vehicle containing the toddler's 2 car seats was parked in the garage. Chris, who drove a company truck...
And the reason why the sensors on the garage door went off is because the son was trying to peek inside to see what was going on in the garage. So they're trying to figure out why these sensors went off, because Nicole Atkinson called before the sensors and called after the sensors because her son was looking into the garage to make sure where the truck was, where if Shenan was actually gone. So that blows that out of complete water right there.
Was still at work, seemingly unconcerned with the situation that left Nicole with a brick in her stomach, a lump in her throat.
She knew.
From the front porch of 2825 Saratoga Trail, Nicole phoned local authorities, requesting a wellness check on a 34-year-old pregnant female and her 2 daughters ages 3 and 5. Local officers soon accompanied Nicole at the Watts' 2-story brown suburban home, and police body cam videos start to tell the tale of the horrific Watts family legacy. After failed attempts by the officers to enter the home or make contact with Shenan, an Anadarko petroleum truck pulls up to the house and parks at the curb.
Chris's.
A skittish Chris Watts jumps out and hustles towards the small group gathered on the lawn. He allows the concerned parties entry into the house. A sweep of the home reveals a few key early findings, including Shenan's.
I can tell you right now, when I first saw this case, the interview with him outside with the news broadcast, that gave it away. And 2, when he actually showed up like he just did and casually jogged up and stuff like that, I knew it was him.
Cell phone recovered from under sofa cushions. Shenan's wedding ring from the bedside table. Cece and Bella's medications for asthma on the kitchen counter. Shenan's purse found on the floor of the home office. And Shenan's daily wear flip-flops sitting just inside the front door. Additionally, although not immediately deemed over-alarming, the girls' beds were not made, and Chris and Shenan's bed had been completely stripped of its sheets and comforter. While the condition of the family's bedding was perplexing, especially to Nicole, who described her friend Shenan as a bit OCD, the state of the bedrooms would later serve as hard evidence, aiding crime investigators in piecing the puzzle together. Days after their disappearance, Christopher Watts was arrested and subsequently admitted to the murders. He confessed to strangling Shenan in a fit of rage at their home after an emotional confrontation regarding their marriage. Watts also admitted to killing his daughters, stating that he smothered them with blankets before disposing of their bodies at an oil site where he worked. The discovery of their bodies and the arrest of Christopher Watts sent shockwaves across the country. It raised questions about the nature of the crime, the motives behind such horrific actions, and the breakdown of a seemingly normal family. As the case unfolded, details emerged about financial strain, marital issues, and infidelity within the Watts family. However, the senseless and brutal nature of the murders left many searching for answers and grappling with the...
Even right there, I knew. When he was starting to be like freaking out and stuff like that, I was just like, this man is screwed.
Heartbreaking loss of Shenan, Bella, Cece, and the unborn Nico. Christopher Watts pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with deceased bodies. In November 2018, he was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Good.
The tragic deaths of Shenan, Bella, Cece, and Nico Watts serve as a haunting reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic conflict and the irreplaceable loss experienced by their loved ones and the wider community. The case also spurred conversations about domestic violence, mental health, and the importance of early intervention and support in troubled family dynamics. Now, I want to reiterate here that my synopsis, which you just heard, is comprised of very high-level bullet points. There's much, much more to this case, and if you have an interest you have not fed yet with the abundance of public information surrounding the Watts family murders, I encourage you to do your own research. This case is, for lack of a better term, a doozy.
It is.
And again, for lack of a better phrase, it's the case that haunts me, and I know many of you feel the same. I want to thank you for joining me in this deep dive into 3 wildly weird and possibly unknown things about the Watts family murders that I believe will get your wheels turning all over again.
I hope not.
Let's get into it. Number 1 on the wildly weird and possibly unknown things about the Watts family murders: the staged crime scene.
I did say
As
it was.
mentioned in this video's introduction, Nicole Atkinson's wellness check request prompted police presence at the Watts home, followed by Chris Watts himself leading authorities through the home in a sort of Easter egg hunt, where Shenan's keys, phone, wedding ring, and other personal belongings, or belongings that would normally be on her person, were discovered. If I can be so presumptuous, I think many of you already have suspicions regarding the placement of the items Chris and those searching the home that day conveniently find.
Amen
One
to that
after
one.
the other. It's like, oh snap, here's her phone. Holy moly, and her wedding ring over there.
Here's her card.
Where's her purse? Oh my gosh, it's right here. Of course, the items found by anyone other than Chris Watts were huge surprises and warranted such reactions, especially Shenan's cell phone, which was turned off and pulled from in between the sofa cushions by Nicole's teenage son, who drove to the scene with her. Referencing the police body cam footage of that day, it was revealed prior to Chris's arrival that Nicole had the Watts' front door keypad code. However, she was unable to open the front door even after disarming the coded deadbolt because the door had been locked from the inside with a safety latch. And what's been described to the public as kind of one of those hotel room locks that you use as an extra layer of security when one is inside and does not want external entry to be made. But let's back up a bit and more attentively run through the scene at the Watts home. Chris arrives home, greets an officer, and opens the garage with his remote fob in order to enter his home through the garage door, which leads to a mudroom and then the rest of the house. Nicole, her son, and the police officer enter the home through the front door after Chris opens the latch from the inside.
But she took a long time.
What I want to focus on is the time frame from when Chris opens the garage door to when he allows the others entry through the front door.
He's freaking
And
out.
referencing the body cam footage, we see Chris remotely open the garage door, step into the garage, open the passenger door of the family's white Lexus crossover, lean into the car, then bend down, seemingly retrieving something, or placing something, or possibly just checking something beneath the passenger seat of the vehicle. Now, I've analyzed, zoomed in, replayed, and slowed down this section of the video many times, trying to ascertain the items Chris is holding and what he might have placed or pulled from the car.
Phone, ring,
Unfortunately,
purse.
the video does not give away anything definitive except for Chris's obvious movements. From inside the garage, we see Chris open the door to the house and go into the home while Nicole looks into the windows of the Lexus. Chris closes the door behind him, which I find really odd. It's almost as if he's denying the others entry. Why is it necessary that they enter through the front door? We see the parties left outside for a full minute and 20 seconds before Chris unlocks the front door for them to come inside. Let me say that again. What should have taken him mere seconds to walk from one interior door to another on the same floor of the home ultimately took him 80 seconds. Let me present that another way. Wouldn't you have at least a little giddy up in your stride to let law enforcement inside of your house to find your missing family? Referencing the body cam footage again, once Chris unlocks the latched front door, it takes Nicole Atkinson about 8 seconds to enter the home, move through the foyer, pass by the stairs, and walk beyond the passageway Chris would have taken from the garage to the room where the front door is. And Nicole is not power stepping it through the scene. She is clearly covering ground purposefully yet cautiously, looking from floor to ceiling with each step, trying to understand what the heck has happened in this house and where on earth her friend and her
I'd like to know why he goes down to the basement so fast.
Family could be. With the comparison of Chris's 80-second trek from the garage to the front door to Nicole's 8-second journey of a distance seemingly about half the size of Chris's, I think it's fair to say that it should have taken Chris no longer than 20 seconds to open the front door after entering through the garage. That is, unless he took a significant detour, and I believe 100% that's exactly what he did.
I think he did too.
I believe, and please note, this is my opinion, that Chris entered the home and quickly, although sloppily, staged the scene. Whether or not Chris retrieved Shenan's phone from her vehicle, which she would have planted there that morning, I believe Chris needed that minute and 20 seconds to hide the phone, possibly even get it off his person, and maybe even stage the wedding ring.
I think it went upstairs.
I also think it is highly likely that Chris had both the wedding ring and the phone in the white Lexus car, which he would have dumped or even destroyed that evening had Nicole not gone into swift action and interrupted his plan. I believe when he arrived to the welfare check of his own home, he retrieved the phone and possibly the ring from beneath the passenger seat of the garaged Lexus.
Agreed.
Under this theory, you can almost not see the footage any other way. I encourage you to analyze it yourself, accounting for these new possibilities. We pretty well know that taking responsibility for his crimes was not part of Chris Watts' plan. He was set to adamantly back up his BS about Shenan taking the kids for a play date and never returning, and if his family was kidnapped in the process, well, that was logical enough for him to defend too. We also know Chris is not the brightest bulb in the tanning bed, and I truly believe his crimes would have been exposed even if it had taken a bit longer and through an alternative investigation. However, it does send a chill down my spine to think had Shenan's diligent friend Nicole not blown this thing out of the water, Chris might have further staged the leaving and or kidnapping of his family, delaying his arrest, possibly even setting into motion what we would now know as a case gone cold. That is one terrifying thought. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me.
I do.
Number 2 on the list of wildly weird and possibly unknown things about the Watts family murders is the strangulation of Shenan Watts. Chris Watts has provided a few confession versions, although it seems an accepted detail that closely preceding the end of Shenan's life, the couple had sex, and within hours of her passing.
I don't believe that.
In one of Chris's confessions, he strangled Shenan after discovering she had strangled their 2 daughters to death. In this version, Chris sets the stage for a justified snap, almost an understandable retaliation. However, he later revises the story and admits to strangling Shenan in their bed after he tells her he is no longer in love with her and she threatens to take the kids away and never permit him to see them again. For the sake of this video, let's go with the latter account, the universally accepted one in which Chris, unprovoked by Shenan hurting the children in any way, kills Shenan by strangulation. In this narrative of Shenan's death, she did not put up a fight. Chris sustained no signs of defensive wounds to his person, such as scratch marks or bruising. Things you would expect to see on the killer of a feisty mama bear like Shenan Watts. Chris maintains Shenan just let it happen.
Would she let it happen though? I don't think she saw it coming either.
He even suggests she could have just been praying as she laid there motionless and he compressed her airway. I have a major problem with this, and these details have kept me up at night. I don't think I have to argue how rattling it is to have your breath restricted, and I'm unaware of any other manual strangulation cases where the conscious, alert victim just let it happen.
Yeah, let it happen. She didn't let it happen.
I have a theory, which I've not heard provided to the discrepancies of Chris's off-the-wall testimonial of the murder of his wife, and bear with me because I think you'll find this interesting. If we are to take as fact that Chris and Shenan were intimate sexually prior to her strangulation, and that Shenan either was unable to or simply did not defend herself and leave evidence of the assault with wounds to Chris's face, arms, chest, etc., isn't it plausible that Chris strangled her during sex? And taking this theory a step further, which I believe to be highly probable, wouldn't it be likely that instead of strangling her while he was straddling her, as he describes in his confession, he strangled her while he was behind her? Listen, I am in no way trying to be crass or disrespectful to the dead or to you guys as listeners. We're just talking typical birds and bees, normal marital relations here.
But wouldn't they have done some type of sexual kit to make sure that had happened or not? Wouldn't they figure that out? I'm pretty sure that they would have done that. And I think they did. And they found none of that.
Okay? If Chris was actually behind Shenan in a popular position I won't name, wouldn't this account for Shenan being defenseless? Because knowing what we know now about everything that was stewing within Christopher Watts, the affair, the problems with the in-laws, the baby he didn't want, and the resentment towards Shenan, I can see Chris snapping in a moment such as the one I'm trying.
But wouldn't you want to have more power on top and down than from behind, and you would have to pull? I don't see that happening. I see him being on top. But again, we can't believe a word that Chris says. It's complete BS that comes out of his mouth.
To describe. He didn't want to have sex with his wife, and he's admitted as much. Shenan desperately wanted to connect with her husband, so frankly, I think she would have been down for however he was willing to consummate the evening. I'm just not buying, much less can I even picture, his story that he gets on top of a pregnant Shenan in a straddling position to have the emotional conversation about the collapse of their marriage, the dividing of assets, and custody of their children. Just work with me here for a moment, and particularly the women, but guys, you'll get this too. Your husband of 8 years straddles your pregnant belly in bed not long after you've had relations, and he tells you the love is gone for him. He wants a divorce. This is the first time you're hearing words even remotely of this nature from him.
You wouldn't do that, though.
Is anyone going to contest that a woman who is not in a catatonic or vegetable state doesn't react quite aggressively, first and most likely by telling him to get the hell off of her? I mean, you just don't process that information for the first time horizontal and pillow top.
She's got a point.
I argue that if this conversation actually took place, Shenan did not maintain this nap time position. And by the way, I'm not sold at all that this discussion happened.
I feel like she
was
fought.
Too passive and wussy to initiate such a conversation. I find it makes too much sense from the evidence and what we can decipher of Chris's confessions that Chris Watts surprise strangled Shenan Watts from behind. She never had a chance to defend herself. Now let this swim around your coconut for a bit and get back with me. Leave a comment. If you're willing to go there, let's dissect this a little more. I'd really like to hear from you guys. The third wildly weird and possibly unknown thing about the Watts family murders, the disassociative language from Nicolekessinger. Sad but true, it's difficult to discuss the Watts case without the sixth main character and Chris's mistress, Nicolekessinger. If you ask me, there are more wildly weird things about Nicolekessinger than there are not, so
Agreed.
I thoughtfully had to narrow it down to how she attempted to distance herself from Shenan and the Watts children through her police interviews. Watch any of Nicolekessinger's investigator-led interviews for the first time, and you may assume Nicole was just a lust-struck fool in the dark. If you're able to excuse some of her odd and annoying vocal inflections, you might have even sympathized with the youthful, free-spirited brunette who caught Chris Watts' attention at their shared place of work, Anadarko Petroleum.
She hunted them.
According to NK, Chris informed her that he had 2 daughters by his estranged wife, with whom he was actively going through a divorce with. Even still, their attraction trumped his familial commitments, and the duo consensually entered into a relationship. Nicole K. has maintained that she was always led to believe that Chris and Shenan were over, despite the understandable complicated living
She was looking at Facebook. She knew.
Situation that Chris fed NK, in which he claimed the married couple co-parented and worked towards finalizing the divorce amicably, but due to shared financials, Chris was temporarily still residing in the family home, in a makeshift bedroom in their unfinished basement.
True.
Listen closer to those interviews with Nicolekessinger, and you'll without a doubt notice a pattern of language and vocabulary which disassociates herself from the victims in the Watts family. It's been joked that one would be on the floor if they participated in a drinking game where you would have to take a shot every time NK replaced the names Shenan, Bella, or Cece with ordinary pronouns like she, her, those, and them. I mean, it happens a lot, and to me, it becomes quite rude and disparaging even for her to purposefully avoid the birth names of the Watts victims, almost like they had wronged her. It really leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and I find myself on a fist-clenching ledge anytime I review the footage. Fascinatingly corroborating her deliberate disassociations is the fact that computer forensics revealed that NK had performed internet searches about Amber Frey, the mistress of infamously guilty Scott Peterson.
She wanted to make some money.
Okay. In my opinion, Scott Peterson is guilty. Jeez, he's locked up, guys. He was captured looking like that kid from The Sandlot after he dyed his hair and beard orange and gone on the run. Anyway, it is reported that Kessinger Googled terms and phrases like, "Did people hate Amber Frey?" and "Amber Frey book deal" within days of Christopher Watts' arrest. In my opinion, Nicole Kessinger was embracing an inflated view of herself by comparing her informed invasion of a marriage and a growing family to Amber Frey's situation. Amber Frey has been proven a victim herself of Scott Peterson's elaborate deceptions. Scott went to great lengths to lie in detail to Amber and hide his family life. Amber had no idea who she was sleeping with, and when she learned of Laci Peterson's disappearance and the connection it had to the man she'd been seeing, and only knew to be a single, sweet unicorn of a guy, she immediately contacted police and cooperated fully, even at her own risk, with law enforcement. Amber was instrumental in cracking the Laci Peterson case. Amber can rest easy today, and she deserves any success she's received.
She came forward, she apologized, she did all this stuff, yet Nicole went into hiding, did not apologize, went completely dormant and quiet, pretty much blamed the victims for her problems. Like, it completely is separated.
Nicole Kessinger, on the other hand, well, her Google searches revealed that she knew she was in the wrong and that she feared the wrath of the public. While I can't say I believe, like some, that Kessinger played a direct and active role in the killings of the Watts family,
I don't think we'll ever
her
know.
disassociation in speech, coupled with incriminating behaviors like the deleting of text messages between her and Chris Watts, did nothing to aid the investigation.
It didn't.
And while on the subject of Nicole Kessinger, how about a bonus wildly weird and possibly unknown thing about the Watts family murders?
Why not?
I myself have watched tons of YouTube videos on the Watts case, and the comment sections say a lot on the public's perception of the people involved in this case.
They believe it about Nicole.
Seems to me that many are not happy that Nicole Kessinger is a free citizen. I've seen this one detail come up several times within people's comments, and as I know this detail to be mishandled information, I thought I could shed some light on it. Your bonus wildly weird and possibly unknown thing about the Watts family murder is the Calculator app. In order to hide his affair with Nicole Kessinger from his wife, Shenan Watts, Chris Watts downloaded a secret calculator app. The main purpose of the secret calculator app is to hide photos on your phone under an innocuous-looking application. When the app is installed on one's phone, the thumbnail looks and the program seems to perform like a normal calculator. However, when your chosen PIN code is entered into the calculator, your hidden files can be accessed. This app has been around for decades, but only since the
And why wasn't his stuff investigated on that phone?
Watts case have I seen such public buzz and misinformation about it. One misconception I know from the YouTube comment section is many people think Chris and Nicole Kessinger both used this app to communicate with each other on the down low, but this is not true. Only Chris's phone had been said to have the app installed on it, and the secret calculator app is not an anonymous communication vessel, but an anonymous media storage vessel. So what was recovered from Chris's calculator were risque photos of Nicolekessinger, either which she had texted to him and he transferred to the app, or he had captured himself before transferring to the app. I think it's important to clear some of these details up because, as I mentioned earlier, I am not of the mindset that NK had a direct and deliberate hand in the Watts killings or knowledge of any premeditation on behalf of Chris. Look, I'm not heading up a Kessinger is innocent movement or anything like that, okay, guys? I think she made some dumb mistakes by getting involved with this guy and deleting their text messages. I'm just pointing out that some of the information surrounding this case has gone through sort of a telephone game and has clearly been altered as it's been handed down the line. So, for those who care about accuracy, maybe you appreciate my plight here.
I do like her channel.
I sure hope you enjoyed this video and got a little fix for your true crime obsession. As I said, this case in particular is one that gets to me. I think it always will. If you'd like to continue the conversation, leave me a comment below.
I definitely think she's on a great path about bringing the right truth. There were people that were asking me about that calculator app, and they thought that it was a communicative app, and it wasn't. It was a storage device for Chris to hide from Shenan. They did talk through Skype, which wasn't first looked at. They did talk on a couple other apps as well, more secretly. So with that being said, comment your thoughts down below. Have you heard of these? Have you not heard of these? Pretty much, there's a couple new ones. I'm not going to lie. So, I mean, again, like she said, we don't want to play telephone where one thing is said here and then this is completely botched by the time it gets to somebody else. We want the truth. We want the justice. We want to make sure that this case gets completely satisfied and the 100% justice is there. So, comment down below. For the new people, make sure you guys subscribe, like the video, share with your friends, and we'll see you guys in the next video. So please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys next time.